he's from Florida. He's probably not quote unquote white women, maybe Latino women. Maybe I should have said that.
So if you're from Florida, it makes you want a certain nationality.
But that's just that's the vibe he gave me. That's it. I think that we all
in that conversation, he explained something that was not me. I told production as well because they felt like, do you not like him anymore because he has a connection with Janelle? Quinton told me when we sat down, he told me that if he were to date me, that I would be the darkest girl that he would ever have dated. He said that out of his own mouth. So for me,
go on.
He also explained to me like, oh, well, I think he said that he liked taller girls, and if you're shorter, he wanted you to have more, I don't know, like you need to be like thick, you need to be like whatever. And I'm not like skinny. I'm not like skinny or anything, but just the way that he was explaining it, it was, I'm already trying to get to know you outside of, like what I necessarily normally prefer, but he did tell me that, so I think that was when I told production that, they was like, he said that, and I was like, yeah, he told me that, like he told me that, and I'm okay with that. It's okay if that's your preference. To tell me that, I feel like that's your preference. It's okay for you to have that preference, but for me, that's not what I want for myself. So I hate that the way the edit is done, it looks like me trying and trying and trying, when it was like, I'm just going on dates to wrap up the storyline. But that was not, like, Quinton is a cool guy, like he's cool. Like, I don't have any beef with him.
It sounds like, these patterns developing. You ever look back and said that there's a familiar pattern with these ladies that you keep getting into some type of relationship with?
I think initially, it's funny though, because one of my friends watched the show and she was like, Janelle reminds me of your ex. And I never really thought about it until she said it. And I was like, damn, she kind of does. And just to
Wait, what did Janelle say?
Janelle didn't say anything. One of my friends that watched the show said Janelle reminds her of my ex, because she my ex.
In what way? I think I know what way it is.
My ex was very, how do I say this? My ex was she was very confident, but she definitely had things that she needed to work on. But she dealt with more depression and anxiety. And Janelle doesn't, or not that we've talked about, but Janelle doesn't deal with that. But the kind of mannerisms and the
well, in terms of growing up, and especially how we deal with women, right, as well. I will say this is my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You like the bad bees too much. You need to let it go. Let the toxic bad bees go. Okay? All right? Because you are loyal to a fault, and that is your problem. You're loyal, too loyal. So much loyal that when you're explaining to Quilla and you explain Janelle, you explain them completely different when they're the same. Mm-hmm. We have combative moments with Janelle, and we have combative moments with Quilla. Now, don't get it twisted. Janelle's not going to jump into his live and do what Quilla did. They're going to be too different in that respect. Mm-hmm. But there is no way that when I'm looking at Janelle and I look at Tequila, that I'm not like going, I can't defend Janelle more. Like, and that's what everyone's kind of seeing. We're like, we see that you can pinpoint Tequila. Mm-hmm. We want you to pinpoint Janelle too, but you're covering her so much. And I think it tells me a lot about who you are as a person. That's why I said to you earlier on about save them, because I was a Captain Save Them. And the reason why we're catching save him is because oftentimes we wanted saving ourselves. When you mention about being a solo kid, that even though you have siblings, you're solo, that's what you wanted. You wanted someone to be there, to back you, to love you, to like you, to just appreciate you, bro. So you do it for everybody else. The problem is when you're doing it with people who are in deficit. They're Build-A-Bear boos. You get their projects that you're taking on. And I'm gonna say my honest truth. Janelle was one of those projects. You took it on because she was replicating the exact same pattern that you mentioned with your ex. That's why your friend mentioned it. So the same thing has happened with Janelle, and yet you called out to Quilla, but you ain't really called out Janelle. So for me personally, I'm looking at him going, "You're a great guy."
I also didn't get the note to Quilla. So if I had gotten the note to Quilla and we had a connection like that, and I gotten to know more about her, then I would cover her as well, because I know that there's an element where that it stems from. I never got to know Tequila, so I can't cover someone that I don't know, and that's why I said earlier, like I distanced myself because I saw that early on. I saw that the first night when she was crying. I already identified, okay, she probably can't handle this process. You also have to realize I didn't see Janelle get in the argument until the house. I didn't see any behavior, whatever that people want to talk about, until the house, the argument with Kat. That was the only time I see it. Now, people had already formulated their opinion of her before then and trying to make me seem like, oh, well, Q should know this. Why does he want? I didn't see any of that. I saw the interactions that we had in between each other, which were great, and the conversations that we had. I didn't see any interactions until the house. And at the house, after that interaction, we had a conversation about it. So it wasn't like I was continuously seeing things and just ignoring them. Nah, when I saw something, I addressed it.
Hey guys, welcome to Little Blackbird. I do apologize. Sorry that I was on mute there. But you know, it's with heavy regret I gotta make this video, right? Because I'll be honest with you, I really did connect with Q. Like I really, really connected with Quinton. I really did. So for me to get to a point where now I'm interviewing Lee and I hear those words, funny enough, the very first thing that we discussed with me and Lee at the very beginning of the show was colorism. When you heard that interview, and I'll put the clip on in a second or two, at the very beginning, me and her discussed colorism. We discussed and said, oh, like, you know, that, you know, with colorism and, you know, how did you deal with it? And the first thing that we kind of spoke about was when people say, oh, you're pretty for a black girl, or, you know, I haven't dated a girl that's as dark as you before, blah, 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 blah. Right. And, you know, so that for me personally, was like, oh my days, like, yo, we discussed that, and then for that to come up later on is disappointing. Do you get what I'm saying to you? I personally don't care if you date white people, and I don't care if you date lighter skin toned people. What I don't like is when you say things like you're pretty for a black girl or you're the darkest person I've ever dated. Like there is no need to mention. I've never mentioned to any of my ever girlfriends to be like, oh, you darker than the last one I've dated, because there's nothing to say to that, right? And I've dated or I've been with different types of shades of brown, black, brown people, and I've never mentioned, oh, you're darker than the last girl I had, or you're lighter than the last girl I had. Right? That's my only problem with the issue. All right? That's my only issue with the problem, is that when that comes into play, that's the biggest issue I have. It's not that he dates light-skinned people. And again, sometimes people get too harped on about it if their preference is lighter skin toned person. But when you answer questions in that particular way, we got to question where it's coming from. That's number one. Number two, the Keyra situation. As I played the clip, Keyra is both right and wrong. She thought it was white women, but then corrected it to Latina women, which technically, I think he has dated Latina women in the past as well. So there is this, you know, she's on point in a bit. You know, there's definitely, you know, there's definitely parts that can be added, you know, into that. And I get she had a sniff, right? She smelt it, but the reason why she smelt it is also because she was coming from the same place. You get what I'm saying to you? So yes, Keyra was right, absolutely. You know, that there was some aspect of what he prefers, and what he likes. And again, preferring lighter skinned to darker skin is not where colorism exists. I think we need to be very, very clear, right? You know, I don't like that. I don't like when people put that on people. If you prefer a lighter skinned person, I don't like that we put that into somebody saying there's a colorist straight away. There has to be, we have to actually hear their thought process to hear what their opinion is. And then we can say if that person's a colorist or not. I think we have to be very careful when we want to jump straight into labeling people saying because you like a light skin toned hue that you're automatically now a colorist. You may just like light skin toned people. Maybe when you were younger, you date the light skin toned women liked you. I think we need to be very careful of that. You know what I mean? I think we have to be very, very careful of labeling people colorists straight away because we don't like the fact that their preference isn't you or isn't me. You get what I'm saying to you? If a lady says to me she likes lighter skin toned people, which often isn't the case, so that this is why, you know, it's different. It often isn't the case. You know, that's not often the case. So, but if someone said it to me, I'll be like, well, that's cool. Yeah. I'm not vexed that you like light skin. When we was in school, you know, there was a period of time where the girls were like, we wanted light skinned dudes. There was a period of time, I'm not gonna say for very long, but there was a period of time where they like light skinned dudes. I didn't care. Like at the end of the day, you know, that's a your thing. You understand what I'm saying to you? That's a your thing, you know. So for me personally, I don't jump down that route. I don't jump down that throat. I don't jump down that lane. I don't jump quickly to label people those kind of things. I need to hear a thought process. But you know, I have to say, yeah, I definitely wouldn't deny. We'll have a conversation about colorism. Don't worry, we'll as well. But you know, so for me personally, that was the biggest disappointment, is that aspect. And obviously, yes, Keyra was right. So in some sense, yes, we owe Keyra an apology, or at least let me say I owe a Keyra apology in terms of, because, you know, I got onto her neck. Now I owe a half an apology because we weren't wrong about her behavior either. Okay, because she had some traces of that, some issues with black culture and black people too. Okay, all right, the way she labeled herself. So you know, so we can hold two truths, and I definitely would be you know, in that space. Now, obviously, yes, Tequila also pointed it out earlier on that there was an issue with Q in terms of what he likes, right? And I think this is actually, if we're going to go down the colorism route, I think this is where you can really you can make a good argument for whether someone has got colorist ways or anti-black ways, what do you want to call it, in this instant, right? And so in the interview with Q, one of my biggest issues with Q was the way he defined how he had an issue with Tequila versus how he had an issue with Janelle, and the fact that he couldn't see that both of these people are problematic in their behavior, even looking back. You know what I mean? Even looking back. So even looking back at, you know, looking back at, you know, the way he described the issue when I played it, that was the biggest issue we found. Because how can you not see, even up till now, that they are problematic both in their ways? Literally, Janelle pulled up to somebody's house to fight. That's where now we can start questioning the way you're seeing things. Again, I'm very still cautious because we have to understand it's not a perfect experiment, right? It's not a perfect experiment. So it's not perfect because there's different how do we say it, factors that play into it. So it's not a perfect experiment. So but when you look back at the season and you can watch it back and you see, I have to ask her, yes, of course, I'm going to defend this person, yeah. But if you can be so heavy-handed with how you describe Tequila versus how you describe Janelle, then I'm going to look at you some way, because both of them had problematic behaviors. Both of them willing to fight at any point. In fact, both of them, if we were to do a description of the combative, Tequila would fit that narrative too, as well as Janelle. So it's like they were both ready to fight, right? At the reunion, she's ready to fight. But instead, how he qualified it was, well, Janelle was always ready to fight because she was almost provoked into that space. And I'm like, well, at what point does she have to take accountability for the fact that every time she provoked, she goes into fight? That's something about you. After 1, 2, 3, you're going to look at it. So maybe during the season, he couldn't see it. That would have been fair. But you've actually watched it back. Right? You've actually watched it back. And so if you watch it back, you're looking at it and going, okay, hold on a minute, there is some wrong on both sides. Like, I can, when someone's biased, you can say, oh, do you know what? Okay, I see there's you know what? I know that, but you kind of soften it a little bit. The way you change your words, definitely. But you actually didn't actually see the issue with Janelle. He generally didn't call it out at all. Right? So he generally didn't see it at all. So for me personally, it is that aspect in terms of also understanding how he couldn't actually process that information. In fact, let me see if I can even bring up that clip, because we did have that conversation, and I was saying that to him, that he couldn't see that both parties were a problem. But just right about here.
So I can't cover someone that I don't know, and that's why I said earlier, like I distanced myself because I saw that early on. I saw that the first night when she was crying. I already identified, okay, she probably can't handle this process. You also have to realize, I didn't see Janelle get in the argument until the house.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see any behavior, whatever that people want to talk about, until the house, the argument with Kat. That was the only time I see it. Now, people had already formulated their opinion of her before then and trying to make me seem like, oh, well, Q should know this. Why does he want? I didn't see any of that. I saw the interactions that we had in between each other, which were great, and the conversations that we had. I didn't see any interactions until the house. And at the house, after that interaction, we had a conversation about it. So it wasn't like I was continuously seeing things and just ignoring them. Nah, when I saw something, I addressed it, and that was it.
Oh, that's fair. I'm not going to take that away. You know what I mean? I think that's a fair summation to make, the difference in terms of how Tequila and Janelle get presented because of what you can actually see. You know what I mean? So, my final question to end on this is, so so I get the part of his play, right? He says, obviously, that, he didn't get to see the season. He during the course of the season, he doesn't see all the behaviors. Fair enough. He probably doesn't see all the behaviors. And that's normal. You know what I mean? Like, but you now have to say also that you have seen all the behaviors because you got to watch the season back. We're doing the interview now, all the episodes have dropped, right? All the episodes have dropped, so now you can see it. That's what I'm saying to you. I'm not saying that you're not going to have a bias. He's definitely going to have a bias because you liked Janelle, so that's definitely going to come out in the behavior. The issue that we're seeing is that you're looking after, it's looking after that. Looking back at the season, you have to deep it that, okay, when I'm looking back at the season, hold on a minute, their behaviors were quite similar. And actually, looking back, I couldn't even check a Janelle at a point. And the reason why I say that is because they're heavy. I think I remember asking him, and I don't know if I put it in my notes here, the time. I said, what is the issue with Tequila? because that's what started the conversation. What is the issue with Tequila? Where's the beef? Let me play the clip for you guys.
I definitely got to keep my distance just because of what I've experienced before. And I know she's still in, well, I don't know if she still is, but from what I've seen, she's still in a place of like projection. And I can't deal with somebody that projects their feelings onto me or to everyone else just because of, you know, how you.
Oh. Mm.
What happened to her? She was almost eliminated, and you know, she was like bursting out in tears. And me, Morier, Herbert, and I think Phil too, like went over and talked to her and tried to like give her some reassurance. And you can tell that from, you know, somebody who struggles with being picked or formulating relationships or whatever like that, you know, being in a situation to where you're almost eliminated on the first night because quote unquote nobody may want you, like that's hard to take, you know what I mean? And so I knew she had some ways to go from there.
Now let me be very, very clear. What he said, I don't think he's wrong at all. You know what I mean? You know, I don't think he's wrong at all about what he said, you know, about the situation of Tequila, because Tequila didn't have an issue just with Q. I mean, there was an issue also with Phil, right? Because literally called that man out for no apparent reason, like the way she called him out. So it's not wrong for the fact that Tequila had issues, right? He's not wrong at all. There is issues with Tequila, and when she comes on Tuesday, we will address those issues because there are things that she does and says, which I'm like, yo, the behavior is out of pocket. So, you know, so he's not wrong about that. But then if you can see Tequila, you should be able to see Janelle. You get what I'm saying to you? That's what I'm saying. If you can see Tequila, and don't get it twisted, Tequila is very obvious. So that's not a thing. But so is Janelle, right? So is Janelle. Okay, you know. So, you know. So I you know, I think in that aspect, you know, there's that particular issue, right there. Yeah, you know, political. So I think this is where I see that, even though if someone wanted to say that, I'm not going to necessarily call him a colorist. I want to say that, you know, I think there are some biases in the way that he showed up with Janelle and with Tequila, and I think the way he's showing up, of course, he likes a bit of that spice, but he didn't like the spice on Tequila, but he liked the spice on Janelle. You know, I want to also put that point there too. You know, so it'd be political. You know what I mean? I've said I'm not quick to throw that label onto people. If that's why you feel you can throw that onto them, but me personally, I'm not quick to throw that label. I don't like to throw certain labels that can be quickly, you know, without really, like I said, having more understanding. You know, but yes, definitely what he said, I'm not in agreement with it. It's not congruent for me. And I was confused as to how one side got this aspect where you could see their behavior but couldn't see the other. That don't make sense to me. And you get all the reports, but in fact, you had a connection with Lee. You had a connection with you know, sorry, you had a connection with Lee and connection with Janelle, and you have definitely have heard that her behavior was not complimentary. You know what I mean? So you didn't need to see it, but you would have heard beforehand. Plus, Janelle was just like your ex. If she behaves just like your ex, then you already have a basis of what your ex behaved like. You would have known what she behaves like. You know? So that for me is also another big situation too. You know, that's a fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point. That it doesn't get a pass as spicy black women. That's very true. You know, I definitely I think that's also a true statement too in that aspect. You know, so yeah. Let me address this question. So, Gifted, please, because next time when people whom have been guests on your show before write bad comments like Tequila did, just tell them they should be respectful. Don't add, you may be blocked. I actually did tell her to be respectful. So if you were there and you were in that conversation, I did tell Tequila to be respectful, or she will be blocked. And she continued, and I blocked her. But we've had a conversation about it, and we've cleared the air. So you know what I mean. So, but yeah, definitely, it was upsetting the mood of the conversation. Before she got there, the mood of the conversation, we were getting somewhere, we we're flowing. So that's the reason why I addressed that particular issue. And I said to her already, I need you to pause up, relax, keep it classy, keep it cute. And then she didn't. She said one or two more, and I said, "No, okay. Now I'm gonna put you on a timeout." It was actually a timeout, not a block. I put her on a timeout, not a block. You know, so that aspect too. Okay. Let's see. We cannot deny that colorism prevails in the black community. Definitely. We definitely cannot deny that colorism exists in the black community. It exists on Ready to Love. It happens pretty much every season. So yeah, no, definitely those things happen. Yeah, those things do definitely happen. Kemi asks, what did Keyra not do in Black Space? She didn't do anything wrong except call out Q. No, she said some problematic statements as well. She said some problematic statements as well. This is why I said that when she called out Q, she was in the same boat rowing with the same oars as Q, because she was calling out someone who too was in the same boat as her. You know, she had made some problematic statements. One about Atlanta being too black for her. You know, she's the closest thing to a white girl. Like, you know what I mean? So they both said so. That's why she was able to call it out, because she also had some problematic side too. They both were problematic in their instances, you know. And again, like I said, I didn't want to call her anti-black, because again, that label, I don't want to stick that label on somebody. I want to be very careful about how I formulate labels. I don't mind explaining behaviors and calling out behaviors, but I'm very careful about certain labels, labeling them as just because of the weight of it, you know what I mean? But if you are it, definitely, we're going to definitely say it, you know what I'm saying? Like, but again, I do understand where, and again, I understand maybe the pathology of where they're coming from. You know, I think I understand the pathology of where it's coming from, because I think both Keyra and Q, especially Q, when he explained his background, I could definitely, you know, I can definitely, you know, it definitely can look at a space where, I think the reality is, I think that a situation is that, you know, when these shows, whatever, they highlight parts of our community, man. Do you know what I mean? You know, they highlight parts of our community. So it's like, it's a tough one. That's what I'm trying to say. I'll be careful, you know. I'm being very careful. You know what I mean? When is Kira's interview? She hasn't replied back to me. I've messaged her to say we should sit down. I think she did reply, but she said she gonna think about it. But that was a couple of weeks ago, so I don't think she gonna sit down with me. You know what I mean? And I understand. You know, it's not everybody that wants to sit down with me. I think she said she wanted to wait until she sees how they show her on the Friday, and then okay. She said she didn't plan on doing any more interviews until reunion's over. I did send her a thing, but she hasn't replied back yet. That was 29th of September. So I don't know. We'll see if she does. You know, we'll see if she does. You know. Probably more likely, yeah, because of course we're gonna ask the questions about her side of things, as well. So I can understand that as well. That backlash might be a bit heavy just because if you're explaining something, people might not understand. That could also be a part of it. So I'm not gonna be mad at it. Everyone has their reasons for and not for. So I get it. When his nephew Tommy's interview is low, I don't know. And I don't know if he would ever come after I've been saying to him every season he needs to leave the show or leave the reunion to somebody else. I don't know if he would come through on that regard. So no, I mean, look, I think this has been said. Like I said, I didn't want to drag it so to the longest part, but I think this is like I said, it's disappointing for me. It's sad to see that, and of course, again, I do feel like when you listen to Quinton's background, again, we can talk about why people choose people of different ethnicities or races, and I've always said that, like maybe I have a bias. Definitely, in fact, no, let me say it. I have a bias towards black men in terms of their choices, and I really have it because I understand the background for some of these people making choices. What I don't understand is the negativity that some people like to produce on or speak about when they're talking about black women. That's the only thing I don't agree with. For me personally, I think that Kristen says some people fear to no generally, and some people generally do. Like, you know what I mean? Because they've done it, she's done interviews elsewhere, and I understand. It's not even like this fear. I think sometimes it is you. Like I said, I like to ask the hard questions. I'm not going to let you go away scot-free. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to ask some hard questions, But anyway, back to what I was saying. So the reality of the situation is, you can make a choice. Like and I think when I look at even like my own history when it comes to dating, I've only ever dated black women. But I always tell you guys, I was one girl away from dating a white. Like, if it had not been like, it's one can say by the grace of God, whatever. But from a young age, the insults that I was getting were not from any white woman or anything. It was from black women. And so, had I ended up dating white women, could I have been on the same pathology as them? Could I have been on the same path as them? Could I have been on the same road as these kind of people? Potentially. You know what I mean? And that's why I think I have empathy for them. That's the only reason why I'm biased. And I'll be honest with you, I am biased towards some of these people that I try to understand where they're coming from. I don't have as much heat automatically because when I see some of the stories seem to be very similar, right? They're very, very similar. It is childhood. It is, hurt and pain. And usually it doesn't come from, and again, quote unquote, usually it's not from white folk. And so what tends to happen is sometimes you're getting ignored, rejected from your own, and that rejection and that pain consistently, and also how you see yourself, and especially as a man, you tend to kind of correctly place yourself in terms of attraction, or at least let me say you kind of place yourself in an attraction bracket, and you realize, you know what, I wasn't getting that from white folk or light skinned people. I was getting that specifically from black girls. Let me say that, not in black women, it's from black girls, sorry, when I was a young girl. So I can understand why some guys are go into that particular way as well, right? But I grew up in an all black, I grew up in an all black neighborhood. My first encounter with black girls, I had two experiences, some at church and then some in the hood. And in the hood, I will be honest with you, blood, they tore me. I can't lie to you. They tore me up. They tore me up. Can't lie to you. They tore me up. They had insult after insult. They called me 2 out of 10s, ugly, bucktooth, Mojo Jojo, Nutty Professor. And all of these insults were not from white. And by the way, I went to a white primary school and then I went to all black secondary school. So from the ages of 5 to 11, I was predominantly a white school, and they, to be honest, they didn't look at me either. To be honest, I mean, they didn't really look at me like that either. To be honest, but one thing about white people, especially in Britain, is they're not rude to your face; they're rude behind you. So you don't hear it; you just see it. You know, you know what I mean? They might say, "Oh no, I'm not interested," and behind your back, they're like, "This nigga was ugly." I can't lie to you, but you never really know because they do it behind your back. They don't do it to your face. What I encountered was that with black girls, it was to your face. So if they're gonna insult you, they're gonna laugh about you. You're gonna see it. You're gonna feel it. You can walk down the corridor. You're gonna see it there. They're gonna be giggling. And so actually, the intensity of the way that teasing happened that I saw was much more intense with black folk than it was with white folk. With white folk that I was seeing, and maybe it's a British thing, they kind of do it behind your back. You know what I mean? They do it behind your back. So it's like you don't know, but they don't like you either. I'm just gonna be real with you. You know what I mean? They don't like you either, but they don't. No, I don't want to. No. I don't like him. You know what I mean? But with black folk, what I was experiencing with black girls was that it was at, you know, right in front of your face. Shoot, they will do it in front of the whole class. In fact, you can become the joke and the butt of the whole entire class, right? So, but mindset's really important here. Okay, mindset's really important here because from 5 to 11, I'm in a very young age. Yeah, very young age. Then obviously 11 to 15, I go to an all black school. You know, an all black school, right? We go to an all black school. You're absolutely fine. You're absolutely right. Yeah, black girls do experiences too. You're absolutely right. But that's your prerogative. That's your prerogative. I always say this: we have two different ways that we are bred and reared when it comes to loyalty to our race. It's very different with black girls to is black boys, because oftentimes, again, how boys or men are conditioned to be seen is one, fetish. And then when you're very young, you don't understand what fetish is. You just see the person as liking you. You don't realize that maybe that white person is fetishizing you. You don't read it as a fetish. You read it as they're interested in you, which is where I'm saying that the pathology of understanding has to come in for girls and boys and for men and women that are experiences, although you might experience teasing and from the same thing, the way that we see selection and the way that people select us is sometimes different. Because we may read fetish, for instance, at 15, what the frick do I know about fetish? All I know is that you like me. Now, you might say some things about, have you got a big dick? Do you run fast? At that point, I don't give a flukes. If I haven't had many girlfriends or many girls beforehand, my confidence is shot. My self-esteem is low. Somebody just like me. Somebody that I find attractive just like me. You know what I mean? That's what you're thinking. It's only when you get older that you reason a different way. But by then, if you have stayed in the path of wherever you go, you believe that white women are attracted to you, and that's what confirmational bias actually happens, what you'll realize is that that's what you'll get. And a lot of it is confirmational bias. A lot of it's confirmational bias, that you confirm your bias. So, you know, I think, you know, so just as I was growing up and got to like 11 and 15, I went to an all black school. Let me tell you something. I got absolutely teased, but I had nowhere else to look. And I went to an all black church. So for me personally, when I looked at it, I was like, you know what? I'm getting teased, but she hella fine though. I'm getting teased, but I'm saying, but she hella fine though. And also, this is another thing. The other people around me, this is also something that we don't mention as well. The other people around me loved black girls. There is nowhere else to run. You cannot be like, I like white girls. There's like 2 white girls in the school. So where are you running from? Do you get what I'm saying to you? Plus, I love my mum too. So maybe that also helps as well. I didn't have an issue with my mum. Do you know what I mean? So like you have to look at the pathology of people's lives, because they make decisions based on different things. My brother's married to a white woman. He had a different upbringing to me because he had a different experience. I had a different experience to him. You know what I'm saying to you? My sister likes Korean men. I mean, look, they have different experiences to what I have. You know what I mean? You know, whereas my younger sister is more like me, and we like black. That's it. Okay? So all you know is, so from age 11 to 15, all I know is black girls. And all the guys around me, all they know is black girls. And we're African or we're Caribbean. And so we have our own banter within that space. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So when you come out of that and you realize, okay, cool. You know what? At 11 to 15, that's where I solidified my liking for black women. But what I would say is I moved out and I went to a predominantly white area and a predominantly white school. I still wanted a black girl, right? And I always say this, I was open at 15, 16, when I went to an all white, predominantly white school. I was open until there was a situation. Let me tell you something that happened. Situation with one white girl. I will never forget this. This white girl, which is a year younger. I remember this. I first just moved to the school. I think personally this was racism, but I think also what it was is that, you know, with racism, you can see that some people get a pass because they are the fetishized stereotype of black. Yeah, just want to be honest with you. Okay. So I had a situation with one white girl, and I don't know how we got into an argument. I think she barged into me, and I was like, why are you barging into me? And then it turned into a massive argument. Before I knew it, this girl has and spat on my bag and spat on me. I said, what the frick? Woo, baby. You know what I mean? I was so disgusted. I wanted to fight. And I said, "You can't be fighting women like this, man. That's madness." You know what I'm saying? At this point, I changed my ways. You know, coming from an all black school, boys and girls fight all the time. But you know, later on, I was like, you know what? I said, I can't. These people are disgusting. No, I can't. You know what I'm saying to you? And I don't know how to explain it. You guys probably understand it more without saying what it is. But you can tell when someone's got a disdain. But here's the disdain. The disdain is this though. They make a difference between black and then the black stereotype. When I mean stereotype, I'm talking about gangster black. You know, the boys that are into gangster activities, there's a difference. So you realize the stereotype, when they fit it, they don't mind, because that stereotype is fitting for certain white folk. They love that aesthetic. They love that fit. And I understand it. Again, we have to understand there's intersections of how racism, colorism, how people view people, how they see people. It's okay. You got to be okay with that kind of situation, right? So I was catching fades from both sides. I was catching fades from white women, from black women. I was catching it from all sides. So, so for me personally, I was catching it from all sides, all heat. But I always said that if it depends, whoever was gonna give me the time of day, I would go with. I wouldn't think about it. At 15, 16, whoever gave me the time of day, whoever chose me, that would have been the lane I would have gone down. And that would have actually probably solidified my thought process on who actually likes me. Because if I'm catching fades on both sides, then neither party like me. I can't choose. You know what I mean? I can't choose. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you that this is a part of, we are talking about people who are adults, but we have to talk about their childhood to understand why they're making decisions in their full-grown adult self. Because you don't forget the pain that you had as a kid. I don't forget half the things that people have done to me. I've not forgotten. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? We all have to heal, but we're not going to forget those things. And so, there was, there was issue there. So literally my first girlfriend was black, and this is the girl that I actually really wanted. And I always said this, after that, there was no going back. You understand what I'm saying to you? I want you to understand something. The moment that I dated that girl, she solidified for me forever. Like there was a door that was open that I could have dated white, but then I could have opened myself up to a British gal. But then as soon as I dated my first ever girlfriend from Jamaica, when I dated her, I shut the door. There was I said, I'm never going there. Don't even look at me. Don't even look at me. I'm not even involved. Right now, why was it so important that door closed with her? It's because finally I understood that I wasn't being rejected by my own people. I'm just being real with you. I'm not being rejected by my own people. Now, someone could say there probably was other black girls that were, that you could have liked. You're absolutely right. There could have been, right? But let's be honest. When we talk about people liking us, we're not talking about people that are ugly to you. See, when people pretend as if ugly people matter, they don't matter to you. Anybody that's ugly to you is not a part of the selection that you're talking about. When you say you got rejected, you didn't get rejected by ugly people. You got rejected by the people that you wanted. That's the conversation. The conversation is not about ugly people that you don't like. They don't get included. You see what I'm saying to you? So when we're talking about people's choices, we're not talking about people that are ugly to you. You understand what I'm saying to you? You're not talking about them people. You're talking about people that you actually fancy and like. That's what rejection hurts. Rejection doesn't hurt when someone's ugly to you. You weren't even looking at them. You weren't even interested in them. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not even on my radar. So if you told me that I'm ugly, I'm not even concerned. I'm not concerned. You're ugly to me. So what does it matter? The people that matter to us are the people that we find attractive. So when we say, oh, I'm being rejected, what we mean is we're talking about women that we personally like. You get me? So my ex-girlfriend that I dated, the first ever one. This girl, I really liked her. Oh, I mean, when I saw her the first ever time, why? Oh, let me not talk too much because she's married, so I don't want to be disrespectful. But the first time I ever saw her, I swear, I was in the corridor. I walked past her, I said, oh my God, who is that? Who is that? Out of all the white people I'm seeing, but I saw one black girl and I said, this black girl. I said, oh my days. Who that? Who that? Who that? I need to know who that is. Who that? I need to know who that is exactly. Who is that person? You understand? Now, it took me 2 years to get to where I need to get to, but I got there. You know what I mean? So now when that person liked me back the way I liked them, that is what confirmed to me that I'm worthy of love, quote unquote, i.e., that person that I have some value, that you know what? The ones that I like me. You know what? My people like me back. Right? My people like me back. Okay, my people like me back. Right? They do. They like me back. Here's my thing. Here's my thing. I want to make it very clear. There's selection bias even within choosing black. See, when you've been hurt before, and this is why I'm saying, I have grace for these people. Okay? All right? Because when I look at the situation after her, when I say I like black women, I specifically liked Caribbean women. We don't want to talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. Let's open up to what we're talking about, right? Selection bias. The way that I saw the world was, it's not every black woman that likes me. No. It's Caribbean women that like me. And they like me for me being me. If I be energetic, they don't insult me. They don't talk about my manhood. They don't say I'm gay. I can't, if I dance in a certain way, they're not cussing me. If I'm bright and being my energetic self, they're not saying, oh my God. But I was experiencing that from African women. Let's have a conversation, right? So again, I had a selection bias. I was like, do you know what? Me personally, I don't date African women because they don't like me. They don't like me to be me. You understand? Every time there's a comment about I'm this, I'm that. They don't like me for me. So my selection bias was now, okay, if I'm out and about, guess what happened? Whenever I was out and about, I kept on attracting Caribbean women. That's all I kept on attracting. All I kept on attracting was Caribbean women every time. So my second girlfriend too was Caribbean, Jamaican too. Specifically, Jamaicans too really get on. I mean, Ghanaian and Jamaicans have we have a love, and I have a love for Jamaicans. Shout out to Jamaicans, man. You know what I mean? Right? Because they fit my MO, I can be wild, I can be free, I can be, crazy with it. And you're not looked at no differently, right? I can be looked at no differently. By the way, I'm Ghanaian. I've not dated a Ghanaian yet. I've not dated a Ghanaian person yet, in my entire life, I haven't. And the reason why is because I never felt accepted. Now, that's partly me. That's partly them. But that's a selection bias because of what I believed they felt about me. So I can understand when someone said they only date white women, because I understand the selection bias that once you make up your mind that these people don't really like me like that, you don't actually look at people like that. You don't even send a signal to people like that. Your energy is not even like that anymore. Do you see what I'm saying to you? So now, when I'm going from like 17 to like 25, I remember I have Ghanaian friends. They was like, you don't date Ghanaian people? I said, no, I don't date Ghanaian people. They don't like me. That was my thought process. I said, they don't like me. Ghanaian people do not like me, right? They don't like me. Ghanaian women don't like. That's what I always say. I always say the same thing. I said, and again, remember, when I say they don't like me, I'm talking about the ones that the one that I like. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm not talking about the ones that you don't fancy them. One that you fancy, do they like you? And I was aware, I was like, no, the ones that I want, they don't want me. And they usually have a comment to say something. Either I don't talk the language, or, I don't behave like a Ghanaian. I look more Nigerian, or I look more Jamaican or Caribbean. Like everything that was, it seems like they didn't like me. It seemed like. So remember, I'm having confirmational bias, because when I do go out, the people that are responding to me are Caribbean people. Now, at this time, we have to take into consideration something. Culture. In the British culture, between the age of, for me, for like 18 to 25, if you go out clubbing, our music, even our African music, had not even arrived. So when I'm dancing, and I used to pick up a lot of women at the club, so this is why I want to make it very clear. So that's why I'm mentioning this. Let's say, for instance, at the club, I'm at the club or whatever, the women that will come up to me and be like, oh my God, were Jamaican women, Caribbean women, Bayesian, Trinidad, St. Kitts. Listen, they're the ones that would be like, you know what? I like you. And they would tell you straight, they like you. Oh, I like your energy. I like the way you dance. I like the way you move. I like the way you talk. They like everything about you. Meanwhile, my peoples who are from Ghana, they're not looking at me. They're not looking at me at all. They're not even smelling me. Huh? They're not even smelling me. So in my head, how I'm qualifying it is that they don't like me. So really and truly, I'm not going to put that energy out there. And remember, a lot of times it's energy, right? It's energy that you're putting out there. You don't realize. So if you feel like they don't like you, you're going to put out, it's subconscious. You put an energy out there. You get me? Because up until maybe 25, another thing, Portuguese women loved me. Oi, Portuguese women, shout out to you. Portuguese women, they are the bomb. Oh, Portuguese women, shout out to anybody from Portugal. Love y'all, because y'all just, you know how to make a man feel good, man. The Portuguese women, that's probably the only European country I could have dealt with. Portuguese women, what? Portuguese women, oh my God. Yo, they would big me. Listen, man. You know what I'm saying to you? So at the time, that's all I was ever attracting. Portuguese, Bayesian, Jamaican, some of them from St. Kitts, some of the smaller islands out there. You know what I mean? Like those particular countries were the ones that were gravitating to me. So remember, I've got a selection bias because I've got confirmational bias. I've confirmed that my own people don't rate me. Right? In my head, those people don't rate me. So how I'm going to look at situations, how I'm going to approach situations are going to be that even if I'm amongst those people, I'm not going to be able to get you. So for me, my energy's wrong. My energy's wrong. You see what I'm saying to you? My energy is wrong. My energy is wrong. So now that happens. 25, finished my last girlfriend, Jamaican, 2, yeah, I sound like Quinton in it. Trust me. And my energy's wrong, etc. Right? But then we get to a point where, and then I date someone from Nigeria, right? Which is only like a few years ago, right? So that's only a few years ago, right? A few years ago, and I had gone to, had I gone to Ghana then? And okay, so here's a deeper thing. Okay, so let me put it this way. Sorry. So let me put it this way. So something that I also realized about my selection and how I was showing up, especially to my own people, was that I rejected the culture. I rejected the Ghanaian culture. This is also a part of it too, right? I never felt accepted by Ghanaian culture because I was never Ghanaian enough. I didn't speak the language fully. I understood it, but I didn't speak the language fully. And, with Ghanaians too, especially those who are really in that community, the language is really important for us. Like, I'm sure for everybody's community, but specifically for Ghanaians, the language is huge. You understand? And there's a way that we particularly move. I didn't move like them. I moved like I was an alien. I moved like I was in between Ghana and Britain, and then had the Caribbean aspect too. So it's like a lot of it was a mixture. So the way I'm showing up, I'm talking about this so that you can understand not just me, but maybe why people are making the decisions they're making as well in relationships in terms of race, ethnicity, et cetera, et cetera. So when I get to that, when I'm now approaching Ghanaian women, or not even say approaching, when I'm having interactions with them, I've already rejected the culture. I'm like, I'm not Ghanaian enough in my head. That's already in my head. I'm not Ghanaian enough. So how I'm even interacting with them is different. So let me give you an example. So this is my fault, by the way. I want to make it very clear. I'm very much accountable. This was my fault in this situation. There was a situation where years back, probably when I was like 22, 23, and I went out with my boys and we was on a let's go and talk to gal spree. Yeah, we said who's gonna get the most numbers tonight. We're gonna go for a walk. We're gonna see who can get the most girls. I ended up met two girls and I walked to them, and we started talking. And one of the girls was Ghanaian, and I thought she was stunning. Oh my God, she was fine. Hey, to this day, wow, what a beauty she was. This girl was fine. And we started walking and talking, and I'm like dropping my bars and da-da-da-da. I remember she asked me, where do I work? And so it's probably when I was 21, actually, because I was still at work this place. She asked me, what do I do for work? Because she was in uni, I just finished uni. She asked me, what do I do for work? And I said, oh, I'm a blogger. I really wasn't a blogger this time. I mean, I did blog, but that's not my job. I get paid to be at McDonald's. I flip burgers and I flip chips. Okay? Yeah, let's keep it a ruck, right? So I said, okay, cool. I said to her, I'm a blogger. She's like, you're a blogger. Where's your blog? So I show her my blog. I generally have a blog at the time. At the time, I generally had a blog. It's called Gentleman Extraordinaire. It's just before I started YouTube. I'll give her the blog, and she's like, this isn't your blog. I said, yes, it is my blog. It's really my blog. She's like, all right, cool. So we keep on walking. And she was my friend at the time, right? And then we go into Tesco. She wants to grab some things, blah, blah, blah. But she asks me something. She says, if it's your blog, what do you say at the very end? Now, this is a question. It's a very open question. I don't know what the frick I say at the end, but I had a catchphrase that I normally say at the very end. I'm under pressure, so it's gone out my head. Plus, I'm lying because it's not my job. My job is actually to flip burgers and McDonald's. So I'm like, I don't remember. I remember even calling my boy. I said, brother, what do I say at the end of my blogs? I said to the boys, what do I say at the end of my blog? I don't know what I said. So he calls me and tells me what it is, right? So we're talking. I'm like, oh, what I said in my blogs is that, Jojo speaks. Because I used to call myself Jojo Speaks rather than Kojo. Jojo Speaks. She's like, okay, but she was like, well, when I went to Tesco's, you must have called your boy or something like that because you didn't remember. I was like, no. I remembered. I mean, I was lying. Of course, I called my boy. I did, and everything, whatever, right? But during that conversation, something that she said, she's like, oh, do you speak the language? I was like, nah. She's like, well, I need someone who speaks the language, we can banter in that particular way. I like my Ghanaian men to be able to lead in that aspect. You know what I mean? I was like, not again. So I realized that at that point, again, I've been rejected because I'm not, again, quote unquote, I don't speak the language per se. I'm not Ghanaian enough. It's like, so I kept on, you keep experiencing those things and you have those beliefs until someone else changes those beliefs and those particular experiences. And so I understand why now when we talk about Quinton and talk about men like Quinton, their experience from childhood and what they're experiencing as they're growing up is very much more different, right? You get scarred, and also you're the one approaching. Women are the ones receiving. You don't approach. So when you're approaching and you're getting rejected from the same type of woman or the same country, it becomes very difficult. Sometimes you're like, actually, do you know what? I'm not going to keep going there. There's too much pain there. Right? Exactly, bro. You know, Sam. You know what I'm saying to you? So there's that aspect of I just felt like, you know what, I probably ain't gonna be liked by them. Now, I'm already set in my ways. I'm dealing with only black women, but you know, in that space, you feel like, again, you're not liked by that. Do you know what I mean? You know, so for me personally, it was like, they just didn't like me. Again, I would never be disrespectful, but here's my thing: I would never be disrespectful to any woman in general. It's just not it's not how I was built. I wouldn't be disrespectful to anybody in general. But even not being disrespectful doesn't mean you don't have anti-black or colorist views. Doesn't mean that at all. Just because you don't say the disrespectful thing doesn't mean you don't have those views. So I'm saying all of this to say that we have selection bias. We have things that make us focus on a particular space. Like, ask yourself a key question. If you're on a chat right now, what kind of men usually approach you? If you're a lady here, if you were to pinpoint what majority of men approach you, I bet you can tell me something that there's a specific group that keep approaching you. Whether he's from Baltimore, or you get Baltimore men, whether you get DC men, whether you get white men, but even with white men, you might get specific type of white men. Right? You'll realize that you keep getting a group that keeps coming towards you. Right? Felicia says she gets all types of men. she gets all types of men. Hey, Felicia, I hear it. Right? You know? So it depends on your upbringing too, right? You know, it depends on your upbringing as well. As Katie said, I'm in a mixed area, so you might have that too. Queen Chill said Mexican and white. I have a deep brown skin. Yeah, this is it. Manda said majority of men that approach me, all types of men from America, not from America. That's another type. Mike said definitely had colorist men approach me, but I spot them a mile off and run for the hills. Banter, babe said, listen, I get all, but mostly white guys that work in tech and finance. Because of your industry and where you're at right now, so you have that thing. The key part in all of this is, like you have said, is that you don't disrespect who you're not trying to deal with. Like, I wouldn't even disrespect white women. Whether I like them or not doesn't make no difference. I shouldn't be disrespecting them. Simple as. You know what I mean? Right? Because that shouldn't be on your mind. Whether that is my preference or not, my preference should not mean I disrespect the other party. Now, I didn't hear Quinton disrespect the other party, but what he did is obviously he qualified by talking about the shade of black. And so that's a different area. Now we're talking about more colorism than actually talking about, misogynistic aspect. But, so this is also important. There shouldn't be a disrespect in that aspect. No matter who you're attracted to, there should never be a disrespect of the other party. You know what I mean? So, that's that. Yes, Banter. Oh, you live in West London. Shout out to you, Banter babe. Good to see a fellow Londonian. Good to see a fellow Londonian. Banter babe. If you're in tech, we already know your financials. Banter babe, if you're in tech, we already know your financial standards. You need men that make six figures. I know, darling. Don't worry. Don't worry. We will find you that rich white man for you. Don't worry, darling. Okay. But yeah. So yeah. So it. Some people have different. Some people have more specific. Some people have more wider key. Just depends on how you are as well. So it just depends again. What your upbringing is and how you present yourself and what dress sense and what area you're in. It's a very complicated science. It's not simple. She said, Banner Baby said she can't settle. and neither will you. Not in West London anyway. Not in West London, definitely not in West London. That's the home of the rich right there. You understand what I'm saying to you? West London is the home of the rich. You cannot be in that place and have poverty in that area. That area, you can't be poor and live in that area, boy. You will get tossed out real quick. You understand? Okay. Another round said, if I'm a Nola, it's any type of man. I hear that. Okay. Location. Exactly. And that's a key thing, right? So, okay, so, and listen, maybe my last segment of this conversation. When I went to Ghana first time in 2021. I went to Ghana in 2021. Let me tell you something. Before I went to Ghana, I had a conversation with a friend, and I said, I don't know what it is, but I feel there's a shift coming for me. I wasn't very much open to Ghanaian women because I felt like they didn't really feel me like that. But before I went to Ghana in 2021, I said to my friend, I feel a shift coming. I can feel it. Because she also knew I didn't date Ghanaian women because, again, I felt like they didn't really want me like that. So I'm not going to look your way. You know what I mean? And so literally, I went to Ghana, and let me tell you something. I don't know what it is, but the atmosphere changed. I'm talking about the atmosphere changed. What? The atmosphere changed. Oh my God. You know, I don't know what happened. I went to Ghana. After that, it just was like, yo, hey, these Ghanaian babes, yo. Hey, woo, baby. I was like, yo, these babes are fool. What is going on? So, you know, my openness changed. You know, my openness now changed, and now I'm open. I'm like, oh well, whether you from this, where you from this, I'm not open to all. I'm like, yo, hey, you could be from the Caribbean, maybe from Africa, you may even be Brazilian. I don't know. I'm open to all. You know what I mean? I'm open to all. And so you want to be open to all different types of women. So now, Ghanaian babe, what I said? Azu. You know what I mean? Azu. It's a wazoo at that point, so it's a bit of a madness. Wazoo. And so now I'm open. Why am I saying this to end on a final note? Is to say again, there's been a graduation, and there's been maturation, and there's been revelation. Okay, let me say it again for those who love the preaching. There has been graduation, there has been revelation, and there has been maturation. And what that means is I've had to go through phases of opening myself up to different aspects. And as I've matured and as I've grown, I've had different experiences. I've seen things differently. Now, of course, the way I was taught from young was to respect everybody. So that's always been on my mindset. No matter how hurt I've got, that's been my mindset. But again, some people have gone through some very difficult, painful seasons. As much as I got rejected, my capacity to receive that rejection in a particular way and not to realize it or actualize it in a particular way is the grace of God. I cannot claim that. Other people have had very bad experiences with our own people, and they reason in their mind that they can't be there anymore. They can't date those women anymore. And they're so locked in. They're so locked into that confirmational bias that their own people don't want them, that they become anti-black or they become colorist in some shape or form because there's a dislike of themselves or a dislike of others or a dislike of how they've been treated by those who they say look like them. Do you get what I'm saying to you? Right? But there's a level of emotional intelligence. Okay? There's a level of emotional intelligence that's also required to elevate beyond what you're seeing right in front of you. Right? So sometimes you're feeling the pain of what you've gone through. And then someone said, you internalize it, but without the emotional intelligence to reason out of that space, it's very difficult. A lot of people don't have that emotional intelligence to see that and the introspective ability to look within why they make the decisions they make. Do you see what I'm saying to you? So when people are going through these things, I'm very much biased, and I don't expect the audience to be biased because as women, I don't expect you to be. And so you're gonna call it as it is. I'm probably gonna have more bias because I understand the process and the journey of how they got to that place or why they got to that place. So I'm definitely gonna be more biased, and I have to admit that I'm gonna be biased when I deal with it, which is why I was very much hurt with Quinton, because as much as I was hearing his conversation and hearing how he discussed Lee, I was like, hold on a minute. It looked like you and Lee were going really well, but you had no chemistry on both sides. Okay. I was okay with that. Yeah, I was very much okay with that. You know? I was always okay with with him saying that it didn't work because there was no chemistry. It makes sense. But could it have been that the chemistry wasn't there because you have a confirmational bias, a selection bias? Could it be because of the anti-black? Could it be because of colorism? Yes, it can also be that too. You can kill connections because you don't believe that this kind of person is the right kind of person for you, or you don't like them because they don't like you, or etc., or you don't think you're worthy of them, whatever. I didn't see that at the time. Until then, when Lee then said what she said about his statement, and I said, oh, that's disappointing. That's really disappointing that we're in a space where you didn't realize that Quinton, and maybe this is something that, I'll probably message him actually. In fact, I will message him. I will message him as well, because I genuinely liked he came on here, and yes, there were things that I know he could have done better, but I genuinely liked the fact he was open. At least he was willing to talk. He was, being transparent about his beginnings and what he had experienced. So for me personally, it was, I wanted to believe in, that in our connection that we had on the live, and be like, you know what, brother, I see you. And that's why I'm also trying to be gracious in this moment too, because this is somebody who I felt like on the live was actually listening. Some people come on here and you can tell they don't want to hear nothing you got to say. They don't care. They are locked in their ways. I didn't feel that way with Quinton. I didn't feel like he wasn't listening. I just felt like, you know what? Maybe someone needs to stand in his corner and be like, brother, you need to look at it differently. You need to look at it differently. You need to look at it differently. And so for me personally, that's why I'm probably having a bit more of a compassionate expression towards Q and not coming left-sided. You know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't realize. So it's a shame, but we you know what? We are definitely we definitely want to be able to have real conversation on the channel. So we still got a few more interviews coming up. We've got Aries on Saturday, tomorrow night. We've got I got Unique on Monday and Tequila on Tuesday. I did reach out to Phil. I think he was probably trying to get back in contact with me. So I'm probably waiting for his message. He probably will message a little bit later. We'll get those 3 ladies on the channel as well. Be out here. But it's been interesting so far. And the funny thing is, I had another live lined up about Q. My whole live was going to be about why do men choose women like Janelle. I was going to break down that, and I was like, I'll do that another day. But, I was going to do that because that was my live. My live in my head was Friday, we're going to do a live talking about Quinton and why men choose women like Janelle, right? Because actually there's another issue of Q, and it's the low esteem. It's the low self-esteem. And the rejection that he suffered in his childhood, that makes him want to be validated by someone like Janelle. And you keep repeating the same pattern, So, yeah. So it's one of those ones. Whew. It's a shame, man. It's a shame. Janelle says she ain't coming, so we ain't gonna see Janelle on this platform. I think Jessica said anything. I know she received my message because she definitely said she'll get it back. Let me see what they said. If she said anything, they said they'll get back to me, but that was 14th of September. So I don't think so. And I reached out again 28th of September. It's seen, but it's not been said anything back. So, you know, yeah. Woo! But it's real out here. But yeah, listen, we're gonna leave it there, guys. I think I've got one more live to do before I go to the gym. I want to go gym, but the rain that's pouring right now, crazy. But we need to talk about what Jada is doing. Why is Jada coming out? No, we're gonna do a live about this. Why is Jada coming out telling us that her and Tupac freaking propose to her, please? No, someone gets your girl. Somebody go and get your girl. Why is Jada telling us that Tupac proposed to her while I was in prison? Nah. Somebody come and get your girl, man. Somebody come and get your girl. You understand? What the hell? No, let me just show you guys. I woke up and I said, what level of madness is this? Like, what's going on? Why are we doing this? Will Smith, why are you allowing her to move mad like this and you're not saying anything? What's going on? I was so confused. I said, why are we doing this to ourselves? Huh? Why? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Huh? Like, wait, why are we? Why, Jada? Why? What hate do you have in your heart? What hate, Jada? What hate do you have in your heart that you do this? I don't know what's going on my profile. Here we go. Let me see if I can get it up. Let me get it up for you guys. I woke up this morning to just carnage. I said, what? And by the way, it's another podcast. Like, I need her to chill with the podcasts. I need Jada to chill with the. I need her to chill with the podcast. I need her to stop doing podcasts. I need to stop talking. I need her to leave it alone. Okay? I need to stop talking. I need her to leave it alone. Look at this. Look at this. Guys, look at this. Look at this craziness. Listen to this.
He's in jail.
I talk about this in the book when I go to see him in Rikers, when I wrote about that in the book, and when I had to talk about it, speak my words for the audible version of the book. That was probably one of the more painful parts, seeing him there, the condition that he was in, and having to leave him there. And he was in bad shape. And so when he asked me to get married, he was at Rikers. And I knew at that time that he needed somebody to do time with him, which I was going to do anyway. He didn't have to marry me to do time. Right? I'm here.
I see why we love you.
And then but he needed a rock. He needed, because of our friendship and because of everything we had been through together, he just wanted to feel that solidified foundation, you know, because I promise you, he would have married me and divorced me as soon as his ass left jail. He would have.
Right.
I'll be real with it.
Right. Because so many people in that position don't have support.
Right.
None at all.
None. You know?
And he got the best.
Right. He was just like, look. And I just think it was the mind state that he was in. You know, he wrote me this long letter. And I think even before Pac went to jail, he was starting to shift in a certain manner.
Good or bad?
Good. Really good. And I think that for him, he just felt like, okay, if I can tether myself, it'll keep me on a trajectory.
Listen, Jada's about to be global with this amount of conversations she's having, because I've got about 6-7 videos I've loaded up already. I've got about 4 or 5 podcasts already I need to watch in the next few weeks to piece it all together. Yeah? To piece it all together. Yeah. So you know what? I love the fact we got 541 people in this room, but I need to do a separate live because this is madness. Like, why? Why? Now, remember what we said? Remember we said, how do I trust? Okay, how do I trust that? You know what? That they had a good friendship. I want to ask people in the chat. We got 546 people in this chat. Okay, first of all, like the live. Secondly, I want to know your answer to this. I want to know: has your best friend ever told you that they want to marry you? I want to know. Just type in the chat. Those of you who have friends that are males or women that are male, women that are your friends, the opposite sex friends. I want to know: have they ever proposed to you? I just want to know what kind of friendship you have where you've actually had one kiss, it wasn't very nice, and then you want to actually then also propose to. I just want to know. I want to know what kind of friendship this is. I just want to know. Okay, if you have a good friend, or it doesn't even be best friend, maybe it's a good friend, a friend that you have of the opposite sex. I just want to know: have any of them said, "I'm proposing to you"? I just want to know. Just want to know. Just want to know. Just want to know. Yeah, real friend, you know. Bear in mind, you got no attraction apparently, so it's not romantic. Those of you who have friends who you find attractive, that's not your friend. But anyway, those of you who don't find your friend attractive, those people, I want to know if they proposed to you yet. That's what I want to know. Have they proposed to you yet? That's what I'm holding my hands up because I'm under duress myself. Every time I hear information about Jada, I'm under duress. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm holding up my hands. I'm under duress. You get me? So I'm like, yo. At some point, I'm gonna look at your relationship with Tupac and be like, yeah, you're taking a piss. Now, and like I said, I personally think it wasn't Tupac that was the one that was liking her. I think it was her liking Tupac. What is that sound outside? Someone's getting broken. That's a madness. So for me personally, I think there's a deeper feeling that that Jada has towards Pac, you know. So I'm gonna leave it there. I'll do a separate live because as much as I love the fact we've got loads of numbers in there, it's confusing if you walk in and we're talking about Ready to Love and suddenly we're talking about Tupac Shakur and Jada. But yeah, I just, you know what I mean? I just think to myself, sis, like, tell the truth and shame the devil. Clearly you like this guy so much. And as she said herself, we would have married and killed each other. Now, don't get it twisted. I've said the same thing about my best friend, but I'm not attracted to my best friend. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, if you are attracted to your best friend, that's completely different. I need her to elevate. I need her to graduate. Okay. I need her to mature. And I need her to catch a revelation. Okay. Graduation, maturation, revelation. I need her to get that. Okay. I need her to get that. Graduate from this situation, mature from the situation, and you're going to get that when you get your revelation. Sis, get the revelation so you can mature and graduate. You know what I'm saying to you? It's too much. They may, Banter Babe, they may be, but you can't confirm that. And neither can I. What we can confirm is her madness of Tupac. It's like every time. You know what I mean? I want her to graduate from at this point, I want her to graduate from the marriage. I do. At this point, I want her to graduate from the marriage. Graduate quickly. Maturate quickly. Catch revelation. Because at this point, what's the point? Rich Fash said they did ask and then she ended up getting married to her best friend. I hear you. Margaret robbery. Hey, I even called her Margaret robbery. Hey, I really be destroying people's names. Margaret robbery, but Margaret Robbie. You know, she's been getting smoked from the beginning, bro. I'm sure there's other people that definitely want to finish her off, though. You know, definitely that probably with Will. You know what I mean? Trusted Banker said, we need you to break it all the way down, Kojo, because Jada is about to ruin Pac and Will's persona for everyone. I hear you. She wants to take Pac down, bruv. Margaret robberies. Oh, we're getting the book. Absolutely. When the book drops, I'm definitely getting the book. I want to get the audio version. I hope she does an audio version because that's how I listen to Will's book. I really can't be sitting and reading the book. I can't lie to you. I like to hear it. You know, Andre said, yes, my homeboy said he would propose to his best friend if he ain't married by 40. That's fair. I hear that. It's crazy out here, man. She has an audio version. Is the book? When's the book out then? Let me see. I will rinse through that book. I promise you. I will rinse through that book. Let me see. Is it out already? Oh, I think it's out. Is it out? Oh, we have to pre-order. We can pre-order the book. When is the book coming out, though? October 17th. So next week. When I tell you I'm gonna audio book it and I'm gonna rinse through the book, I will let you know my thoughts. I will read that book so quickly. I've never listened to. I'm gonna have the speed on 1.5. That's what I'm gonna hear. That's all you're gonna hear from the book, huh? And there's Tupac and Tupac, Will Smith, Tupac. That's all I'm gonna hear. But I'm gonna go through the book by the next week. I'm telling you. Give me a few days. Yeah, that's it. Quick. Okay. All right. So we don't have to talk about that. Okay. All right, guys. I love you and leave you guys, and we'll talk about it. Okay. All right. So Aish. That's a good point, Mickey. That's a good point. She chose security and now regrets it. I hear you. There's an audiobook. There is an audiobook. There's an audiobook, guys. Don't worry. Okay. Oh man. I'm waiting. Okay. All right. Listen, Deja, listen. I learned this trick from people that are successful. Apparently, they listen to things on 1.25. And after you listen to 1.25, you can't go back to normal after that. Because everything just seems so slow. You understand what I'm saying to you? Hey, Frank Tonics, man. Reach out to you. I appreciate you, my dog. Blessings. You get me? Blessings. Like I said, where's my book? It's coming. I'm writing it, man. I'm writing it. You get me? I'm being a bit slow, but I'm writing it. There's some things happening in the woodworks, guys. You'll just see me. One day you'll see me here. Next week you'll see me plastered on billboards. So be ready, guys. Be ready. We're going to elevate. I'm going to have revelation to reach my graduation and reach what? Maturation. You understand what I'm saying to you? Okay? All right. So we're going to talk about it. I'm going to do another live in a bit so that I can talk about it and then we'll have a conversation. Much appreciation, guys. Stay locked. In fact, look, before I leave, you got to leave with this video because you know what? It's real. I think it really does. This is a couple of memes here just to kind of encapsulate what happened today. And this is for Jada too.
We will not have it. I said we will not have it. Oh.
This is how I feel about Jada at the moment.
We have watched and listened from the mountains. We have watched with disgust.
This is about Quinton.
Yeah, they had us the first half. I'm not going to lie. They had us. We weren't defeated, but they had us.
Okay. All right. And this is how I feel like, this whole situation is, with Quinton Lee situation.
I don't want peace. I want problems always.
And this is what we're saying to say goodbye.
Like,
Appreciate
it with something.